There we go. I forgot to press the button. Here we are. First technical problem for my live stream today. I forgot to press the button. I was talking for 30 seconds, wondering if you can hear me, but that is normal on my live streams. And everybody who's seen live streams from me before knows that every time there's a difficult, some sort of technical difficulty, and this time hopefully that was it. I've got a new PC. I hope you can hear me because quite a few things on my hardware have changed, and I'm always kind of crazy about my live streams and about if everything works. And there's the guy. I hope you can hear me. Just type yes, we can hear you if you can. Only through your left ear. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, that could be. Give me a second. That should be a quick fix. There we go. Now you should hear me to both ears. Thank you very much for the feedback. Yeah, like I said, I'm using a different microphone. I'm using the microphone I normally. Oh, sorry if that was loud noise. I'm using the microphone I normally use to record my episodes, and I don't have the table microphone here because I think this thing is just much more comfortable. It's wireless, and I can move around with my chair and so on. So that should do the trick. Yeah, where's everybody from? Just type it into the chat. It's always nice to see that. Bremen, very nice. Local guys. And it should be quite the interesting launch. Norway, Chicago, Holland, DC, Finland. Oh my God, it's racing people from all around the world, basically. Oh, France. I see UK, Italy, Romania, Australia, Aussies in the house. Very nice. It's incredible how many people showed up again. Thank you very much for all the support the channel is getting from you guys. It's just amazing. Look at that. Hawaii, Arizona. It's racing so fast that I can barely read what you're typing here. But Poland, Kenya. Seriously? Wow. Israel, Spain, Japan. I mean, can you believe this? And you're all in my little studio right now. Thank you very much for showing up. This is incredible. Very, very cool. We hopefully don't have a scrub here. The SpaceX feed is still saying 43 minutes. Don't get me crazy here. The weather report said everything's fine. Pakistan, you can stop now. Oh my God. So again, thank you very much for showing up. This is great. And I hope that the hardware is doing the trick tonight because, like I said, I've got technical problems every time. I'm still learning the software. This is my fourth live stream, including the 10,000 live stream that I'm wearing the shirt of right now. That wasn't too long ago. Lots of love. Yeah, thank you very much. Very cool. It's just amazing. Jamaica, Canada, Belgium, everything's in the house tonight. Thank you very much for showing up. So tonight, CRS 19, we've got a special event coming up. I've got one of my patrons is watching the launch live from the observation gantry at pad 39A, or close to pad 39A. And he should get a pretty good view, and I'm gonna try to show you what it looks like when you watch a launch live. So he's gonna Skype call me, and I'm gonna put that in the view, so you can actually see what it's like when you visit Florida and you see the launch, which I'm going to do in March, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So we'll see if that works. I've tested it with him, and it worked, but who knows how many people are filming and calling and streaming from there, and if the cell phone network does that, I don't know, but it's going to be a test, and we'll see if that works. And then in the end, after the separation of the Cargo Dragon, we're going to try to do calls with the patrons. That's another thing I was planning for a while now. I want to get the patrons involved as much as I can. So you're going to be able, yeah, from Mars, nice. You're going to be able to, of course, ask me questions, lots of them hopefully on the chat. But I'm going to also try to answer questions on calls that I'll get from patrons. It's probably just going to be 2 or 3. We've pre-tested that as well, but I hope it's going to work. If not, bear with me. It's a try. It's a first try, so we'll see if that works. And the chat is still racing crazy. Guys, type slower. Any updates about Mark III? What you've seen on the episode. I'm already almost done with the episode for tomorrow, and there's quite a few stuff that's happening there right now. It's just it's all in early stages right now, so it's really hard to tell when they're gonna start actually stacking again and building a new tank section, and if they're gonna build a cone section. But we've got a picture of a nose cone of a new one, so that could well be, and we'll see. It'll take a while, of course, because they got to start from scratch. They're disassembling Mark I right now. Like yesterday, I think Maria Pointer made a video. I think it was Maria Pointer, or it was spaceflight.com. Please don't kill me if it was Mary, but it could be. I'm not too sure. They're disassembling Mark I right now, and we'll have to see how that goes on now. They're building lots of ring segments right now, that's for sure. So they're working on it, and hopefully, you might have seen how many waves my last episode created, because I said that SpaceX laid off people and they didn't. So that was a wrong information, but at least I was right with the hold on the Mark II prototype, which is sad but necessary, I think. So they're not laid off or anything. They're, as SpaceX states, they're going to be transferred to other projects, activities in Florida and Hawthorne and Boca Chica. So it could be that we see a lot of increase in work power in Boca Chica, which should speed up Mark III. So yeah. Let me see if I got more questions here. Saturn's Titan, yeah. Mateusz Grzyjuk. I'm sorry for butchering the name, but I cannot speak that. What about Elon colonizing Saturn's Titan? It is even harder than colonizing Mars. First of all, if he colonizes anything, it's going to be Mars first. That's pretty much for sure. Mars is pretty hostile, but not as hostile as Titan. But it would be possible to colonize basically anything if you've got the right tech. So, or not anything, but there are a few candidates out there that we could at least build a small outpost on, but it's all about the tech. So we'll have to see about that, and that's still science fiction. Musk is building the Starship. We haven't seen anything yet on the colony buildings on the Mars project. Concepts, not more. So we'll have to see about that. Stephen Lemmers is asking, what do you know about the new robot tool they sent today? Isn't that ESA's robot tool? I heard about it, but I don't know. Or do you mean the sniffer? If you mean the sniffer, I've had that on an episode. That is the ISS, or I assume that you're thinking about the sniffer. They are sending up a garage for the sniffers, actually. So you might think about something else, but I'm just going to keep talking about the sniffer. The ISS is cooled with ammonia, and the system is constantly leaking, basically. And what they're sending up today, at least what I think what you mean, is a garage for 2 of these sniffer robots. So they can basically park themselves on the outside of the ISS, and that's going to make the job much easier. I hope that's what you were asking about. And they're going to send up 40 mice. That's going to be incredible. They're going to have the ride of their lives. I will. Dega is asking, will you be at CRS 20 in March? Yes, and I'm so looking forward to it, because it's hard to believe, because I'm doing a show about rockets, but I've never seen a rocket launch in my life, because I'm in Germany, and Germany doesn't have many rocket launches, or at least we haven't had for a long time. And those rocket launches are something I don't want to mention here. So yeah, CRS 20, I'm looking forward to it a lot, and I'm going to have a meetup there. We're planning that right now with locals who actually know a good restaurant or a bar near to Kennedy Space Center. And yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I'm going to be touring basically everything I can find at Kennedy Space Center, because we're going to be there like for 5 days. I'm actually going with a patron, which is even cooler. And we're going to tour everything at Kennedy Space Center that we can find. I'm going to take as many pictures and videos as I can, hopefully do a live stream from there, do a meetup. Then I'm going to go visit 2 friends of mine in Maryland who I've seen the last in person 8 years ago. And that's going to be 3 days. And then I'm going to go down to Boca Chica and visit the Starship and the Progress and everything. And I'm very much looking forward to that too, because I've had so much contact with locals in Boca Chica, and they're the finest people. Seriously, they are really nice, open arms. Come by, drink a coffee, and let's talk about the Starship. So that's what I'm definitely going to do there, and yeah, really, really cool. I'm very much looking forward to it. Oliver Smith, will the ISS become obsolete after Starship? That's a good question. I think it won't become obsolete right away because it's a really nice science station and it has a lot of potential for the future as well. But I'm hoping that they're going to upgrade it quite significantly. I mean, why waste it if you've already got a good structure up there? Maintenance is going to be much easier if Starship is actually turning out to be what it's supposed to be on the concept. So, and it's going to be very easy to get up new modules, bigger modules, more space. Maybe I'll put a hotel next to it. Who knows? Starship has so much payload capacity and it's going to be so cheap. We should be able to do something with the ISS then. That's for sure. So yeah, no, don't waste it. Upgrade it. That would be the thing to do, I think. Current Holland is asking, what about the new Cybertruck from Musk? He says it will be used on Mars too. Yeah, pressurized edition. Hard to say. I've talked about it with quite a few people now, that pressurized edition doesn't really make any sense, because how are you going to get out of it and into it? You would have to have an airlock, or otherwise you'll have Mars dust in there anyway, and if you leave a station on Mars, you'll have a suit anyway. So the pressurized edition might be a joke, but I think using it on Mars is not a joke. And they are, if that is true, so if they're planning to make a Mars rover version of the Cybertruck, they're going to use it on Earth to get test data, which would be awesome, because then you have a reliable vehicle. If something works on Earth, especially an electric vehicle, it's going to work on Mars as well, because Earth actually has more gravity, so it's more demanding on the whole structure. And an electric vehicle does not need any gases for combustion or anything. It's just the battery and the motors, and it's basically the same system that a NASA rover runs on. It's electric motors and batteries and solar panels, and that's basically it. So they can test it for reliability down here. And Musk also said that it is made out of the same stainless steel that Starship was made of. And he already said before that they are going to leave the first Starships that they use to transport cargo to Mars, they're going to leave them there. And then they are going to use those to maybe even cut them up to build new stuff on Mars, because it's raw material that you can use. And if that's true, he might just, but on the other hand, yeah, it would theoretically be possible to build one of those rovers out of Starship components. So you just have to get the wheels and the motors and everything internal up there. But I don't, actually, after the second thought, I don't know if that could be. Oh, standing down today. There we go. I got it. Why? Let me check that. The weather looked fine. Standing down today due to upper altitude winds and high winds at sea, creating dynamic conditions around the off-course I Still Love You drone ship. Next launch opportunity is tomorrow. So write that down. I'm going to stream again tomorrow, of course. Yeah, we got a scrub. That is something, I mean, you probably know because you're watching a launch live. Yeah, that's something you have to expect when it comes to rocket launches. But the weather report said that it was fine. Oh well, there we go. More time for questions, and then we're changing the plan. I'm going to do a live stream again tomorrow, of course, and I'm probably going to do another 45 minutes or an hour of question answering here, because you're all here, and I don't want to send you home. And maybe we can even get that call from the, oh, he traveled there to see the launch. My patron that we wanted to call on Skype. I'm going to check back with him. Let me see real quick if I can get an answer from him, if I'm still going to get that call from him. And I've got a mechanical keyboard, so you're probably going to be able to hear me type here. So I just asked him if he's going to be there tomorrow again, because right now people are just probably going to leave. Yeah, that happens. All right, let me see if I. Um, yeah, the pity. Can't change that. Yeah, yeah, we've got a scrub. That is disappointing, but that's how it is. Upper winds. The last weather report actually said that the upper winds looked fine. But then again, normally the last results for the weather reports come in 20 to 10 minutes before the launch. So this is well within the window, and they're just gonna stop the fueling process, get everything out again, and prep the rocket for tomorrow. That's all they can do. So it's a pity, but that's how it is. Oh, and we got a super chat. Thank you very, very much. That is very nice of you, Jean-Noël. Thank you. Yeah. Could you put up a countdown? Yeah, that is obsolete already. Yeah. Damn. It's a pity. So if you've got any questions, maybe we can, or we should maybe do that tomorrow with the calls then. But if you've got any questions, shoot them out. I'm still here, and until I either get a response from Doug, who's at Kennedy Space Center right now, or until you run out of questions, I'm going to keep the stream up, of course, and then I'm just going to right away put the reminder up for tomorrow, and we're going to do another stream tomorrow. That happens. It happens rarely, but it does. Yep, see you, Lisa. Thank you for showing up. And Gordon, thank you. Thank you very much. In which city state do you live in Germany? And thanks for covering. Mad Mushroom. Mad Mushroom, thank you very much. I live in this. I don't know if you know if you know Germany at all. It's roughly in the middle, and it is right next to Nürburgring, the Green Hell. That is this very, very famous racetrack that most people have heard of already. And it is so close to me that if they're racing and I open up the window, I can hear the cars. So it's 2 miles away as the crow flies. And yeah, as I love racing as well, that's my second thing, or a third or fourth thing. But I've always been into racing, so that's a nice place to live for me. And it's right in the hills, mountains, really nice area. Thanks for asking. Greetings back to Karlsruhe. Very nice. Ah, you're German. That is cool. It's always nice to see locals. India. Very nice. And it's the first time for you catch a live mic. Yeah. Then and it's a scrub. Yeah. Tune in again tomorrow. That happens on rocket launches. That's the benefit if you watch the replay. Yeah. You can just watch the first 5 minutes and see that was a scrub. Happens. Bamberg, that's not too far away from me, Jean-Noël. Very nice. SpaceX's window for 2024 Mars mission, manned Mars mission still. Well, the window is still there. Ben was asking. The window is always there, but the question is if the Starship prototypes will continue a rather quick development cycle, because we've already had Pop-Top Orbi, where obviously something went wrong either with the construction or with the test. Both rumors are out, and both are not officially. SpaceX hasn't had any statement on that. It was just Elon tweeting that they deliberately overpressurized it, and so. Yeah, and Florida is stepping down because it was probably just too much micromanagement to construction sites. So we'll have to see how fast the development process is. And if it is fast enough, they are going to do cargo missions in 2022 and then maybe manned missions in 2024. But it is a very tight schedule. We're tipping into 2020 already almost. And it's 4 years for a manned Mars mission. That is barely enough time to train the astronauts. So might happen, but I think it's more realistic to look at the end of the 2020s, like 2028, maybe even 2030, but that is realistic, definitely. So we'll have to see. The moon is the target right now anyway. Cargo missions, fly around, all that kind of stuff. Night Fox is asking, They're building a bunch of rings for Mark III, but it doesn't seem like they're doing anything with them yet. Do you have any ideas when they'll start welding them together? Okay, so I've heard rumors, I'm going to be really careful here after my last episode, that they had trouble with these rings sitting in cocoa, that they scrapped all the rings that were laying around on the construction site, and the rumor says that the rings all had different sizes. So they tried to stack them, but they had different sizes. So they had problems, according to a rumor, they had problems with the barrel maker, with the ring bending machine that's internally called barrel maker. And if these problems still persist, that could be the reason why they're making a lot of rings and not doing anything with them right now in Boca Chica. But it is just speculation, and we don't know. We'll have to see in the next few days if they do anything. Yes, Mike. Say Quinny, Quinny. Yeah, there you go. There you got it. Every time. Thank you for the super chat. He's one of my patrons, and he's a really nice guy, and he loves that on earlier episodes, because I just didn't know, and I thought it was the right way to say it. I said Gwynny Shotwell, which I still like more than Gwyn Shotwell, because I think it sounds totally cute, but apparently it's Gwyn Shotwell. There you go. Okay, Agamemnon is asking, really nice nickname. There is an orbital test coming up for Artemis and SLS. I am not sure of the date, but that is what they are gearing up for. Who's gearing up for that? SpaceX doesn't have anything to do with Artemis and SLS. And the first Artemis 1 is supposed to launch in 2021. So that is still a bit away. There's no launch date yet, but it's stated to be in 2021. But I don't know, maybe you meant something else, clarify. The moderators are probably going to pick up your question. Thank you. Dwayne Lawrence, does SpaceX have any company astronauts? Not yet. And I'm really curious if they are ever going to have company astronauts, because they might have to have, because I think if SpaceX wants to send astronauts to Mars, I'm pretty sure that NASA won't be as quick in their schedule as SpaceX is. So let's just do this hypothetically, that SpaceX says, all right, we're ready, 2024, we can send astronauts to Mars. And then they go to NASA, and NASA will just say, but your rocket is not human rated, and we're not going to send anybody until 2035 because we already have our own program or something. That's what I expect them to do. So SpaceX would have to have company-owned astronauts to do that, yes. But they don't have a training center. They don't have candidates. Well, candidates are probably easy to find, because there are a lot of crazy people out there saying that they want to go to Mars on a Starship, and even on the first flight probably, which is honorable. To say crazy actually is wrong. It's pretty honorable. But yeah, so if they want to make this tight schedule, they might have to have company astronauts, but they don't have yet. No. Nothing known on that. Ben Tilson is asking, is Elon still working on the space hotel with Bigelow? Was he ever working on the space hotel with Bigelow is my next question. I know that Bigelow is working on a few modules, which could also be made into space hotels, but I don't know of any project directly related to SpaceX where SpaceX stated that they're working on a space habitat, despite a hotel. If you can elaborate on that, I wouldn't even know about that. Would be really interesting, actually, a topic for an episode. So yeah, elaborate. Very nice, if that's true. Gaming with Reddit. No, gaming with Reddit, I'm sorry. Hi from Indonesia. Can you say... I can try. Aku orang pintar. Aku orang pintar. And it stands for I'm a smart man. Thank you. I mean, that is hard to say. Backyard Astro. What tech is your favorite for living on the moon and Mars? What do you mean? What tech is your favorite? Do you mean if you can well, there are a lot of techs needed to live on the moon or on Mars. It's divided into habitation, power production, food production probably, because you can't. I mean, to the moon you could ship the food, but to Mars you certainly It would be very difficult, and the food would be really old every time you get new food. It would be possible, but it would be hard to do because it's a lot of food you need, and you need a lot of transportation just for the food, so you'd have to make that. Then you've got transportation. As soon as you get bigger, you need more than one rover. You got the suits, which is really interesting, which needs an update in my opinion. NASA is doing some work there, but I'm not a technician or an engineer, so I don't know if it's actually a good suit, but it looked really strange in my opinion with that humpback and maybe I'm just too sci-fi for that, and I think that there should be a better way of making a spacesuit, but like I said, I'm not an expert on that. But that is a really interesting thing. And then landers is a really interesting thing, of course. So it is, if that's what you meant, it is really hard to come down to one tech that I would find the most interesting one. Maybe even harder than saying what's your favorite movie, because that would even be hard. But when it comes to space tech and especially colonization technology, all of it basically, because if that is going to happen, that's going to change so much. People actually living somewhere else than on Earth would be a really big step, maybe even bigger than that first step that Neil Armstrong did. But back then, of course, that was a really big thing too, so I didn't want to say that. But yeah, colonization of anything outside of Earth would be awesome, no matter the tech. Let me not skip a question here. Mateusz Gruzik again. Hopefully I did better this time with the name. How about von Braun station, artificial gravity by rotation? Artificial gravity by rotation is a really interesting thing, but the von Braun station, in my opinion, isn't, because it is not backed by anything. I've looked at it. I wanted to make an episode about it, so I researched into it and who's part of the team and all that kind of stuff. So it is an interesting thought construct, but the von Braun station is not anywhere near any sort of feasible construction. So, but yeah, rotational gravitation is something that should be tried if it is at all possible, because low G, if we don't genetically manipulate ourselves, we're actually the 40 mice that are going to the space station or should go to the space station today. If you've watched my episode, these 40, they're actually called mighty mice because they have switched genes that either promote muscle growth or bone density, and that is a direct thing towards colonizing Mars. I'm pretty sure about that. It's not just about the ISS, because you can always pick up astronauts from the ISS. You don't have to genetically manipulate the astronauts that go to the ISS. But if you go to Mars, it's 2 years at least until you can be picked up again. So it would actually make sense to, if it is doable, send people that are genetically manipulated. I am not too big of an enemy of genetic manipulation, as long as it is done in any kind of reasonable and ethical way. So these mighty mice are testing that, exactly that. So that would be another way. Or the rotational gravitation in space, definitely. Because like I said, that's the biggest problem we're having when we're going to space for a longer time, is lack of gravitation. So yeah, that would be a good way of trying to make artificial gravitation, because we don't have any gravity plating like in Star Trek yet. So yeah, that's a good thing. But the von Braun station, like I said, it's going to be hard to construct it. Easier way would actually be like what's been proposed a lot, actually, is 2 starships, and in the middle you have a cord, and they spin around an imaginary axis in the middle. That creates the same effect. So, and that would be easier for testing at least, and maybe for long-term use as well. You could create a station like this in that design, and you wouldn't have to have this whole structure in the middle. You would skip that whole part. So, but again, I'm not an expert on that. Lots of ideas around, and good question, thank you. You've got lots of questions here, nice. Brian Carpenter, how do you feel about the new Kerbal Space Program being delayed till late next? I didn't even hear that yet. Why are you saying that on the live stream? That is terrible. Why? Why did they? I gotta Google that later. I didn't even know. I'm super excited about the game. And maybe it's just quality issues, and then it's a good thing that they're delaying it, of course, but I didn't even know that yet, and it is terrible. But then on the other hand, if it's got a reason, take your time, make a good game. But I'm very much looking forward to that. Yes, I'm a huge fan of Kerbal Space Program, even though I've never streamed any gaming, but I've done it a lot, and it's lots of fun. Also, Space Engineers, all these games, yeah, very nice. And I hope the delay is not going to be even longer than that. Thank you. Uspi Atikos. Okay, so you staying live until tomorrow? Yeah, hopefully not. I gotta go to sleep, but I'm gonna, like I said, you've all showed up, and I'm really grateful for that. So I'm gonna answer your questions, and I think I've said that on every live stream, that the main reason why I'm doing these live streams is because that is the thing for me to communicate with all of you. The comments are a no feedback thing normally for me. I check the comments, and it's rarely that I even read an answer because I don't have the time to check in again on the same comment normally. Sometimes I do, but it's rare. And so the moving chat is my only way of communicating with everyone who's not a patron yet. So that's why I do this, and that's what I'm doing here right now. So thanks for the questions. We've got another super chat, and I want to scroll there first. Night Fox. Thank you for all your hard work. I always look forward to your updates on SpaceX news. It's 2:30 a.m. here, so I'm going to go back to bed. If you're still there, thank you for the super chat. I don't know what you wrote after that, but it looks like it's Japanese. And thank you for showing up, and thank you for the kind words. That is really nice of you. Thank you. So we got more questions. I gotta hurry. My moderators are really quick with writing down your questions. The last one we had was, I think, Kerbal Space Program, and then, oh my God, you got lots of questions. Alive until tomorrow, we had that. When do you think, okay, Adam Gibb says, when do you think New Glenn will launch? Okay, I think it's slated for 2020, which would be incredible because right now they're still building the assembly facility and the integration facility and the engine facility, which is going to be on the next episode. Incredible pictures again by Dave Lavoie, who's priceless for me. If you're watching, you're doing an awesome job here. I'm a big fan of Blue Origin. You might have noticed because I always try to squeeze them in somewhere. It's not because I'm an even bigger fan of SpaceX, obviously, but I think it is they're always, when it comes to Blue Origin, many people say that they're second and they're just copying SpaceX and they don't have anything in space yet. All right, they're second. That's true. They're copying SpaceX. That's true, and they didn't have anything in orbit yet. It's true, but being second to SpaceX means you're better than everybody else when it comes to reusable rockets. So they have the tech, and they're developing it, and they're putting a lot of money into it, and they have really good engineers, and I'm really, really hoping that they succeed because it is always better to have two companies doing that thing than just one. It'll spur inspiration, it'll speed up progress, and it's just a good thing. So I'm cheering for Blue Origin, and I hope that the first tests of New Glenn will start this year, next year, coming up. And but it's going to be tough because we've not seen anything yet from New Glenn. Nothing, just concept pictures. So it's hard to tell, but that's what they say. 2020, I think, at least. So thumbs up and fingers crossed. Okay, Gaming with Reddit is asking, how are they going to refuel the Starship on the moon if it is going to go back to Earth, or they don't need? I'm not super sure about the numbers, but I think they'll have to refuel it in Earth orbit, and then it'll go to the moon, and it has enough propellant to go back again. The long-term goal, has already been spoken about, is to produce propellant on the moon. The problem there, though, is that I think you can't produce methane on the moon, but you can produce hydrogen, of course, because you've got water. So for starships, I think you will never be able to produce any propellant on the moon. So yeah, the Starship will have enough propellant if you refuel it in Earth orbit to go to the moon and then go back to Earth again. That's the deal, I think. But I don't have the numbers. It's just, I'm talking to smart people every day, and that's what they told me. So, like I said, I haven't calculated that myself, and it would be hard to calculate. But that's what I heard. So yeah, it doesn't need any fuel on the moon. Njami Saunders. Yes, please do another episode about artificial gravity. It's a project and I'm working on it, but I can't promise when that's going to happen. In December, I'm probably going to skip 2 episodes to recharge the batteries because I really need that. The last half year was definitely exciting, but also exhausting. And so I'm going to skip 2 episodes, but there's going to be a very nice collaboration coming in late December, which you're all probably going to be happy about. So, and then in the next year, I'm planning on an episode on artificial gravity. Exactly, just dissecting the whole thing, seeing what kind of options we have and how to possibly build that. Yeah, thank you. Good question. Or actually, it wasn't a question, but thank you. Chuck Vanderbilt. All right. Do you think the second stage and Capsule will be visible on first pass over Europe tomorrow? They should. Yeah, they should definitely. If it's yeah, they definitely should. The sun should be down enough. Let's say it's not going to be perfect, but if the skies are clear, most certainly with binoculars, which are, by the way, if you don't know, you don't need that to do first steps in astronomy. Binoculars and just a good tripod are perfect for first steps in astronomy, and that is going to make you definitely see it, but the problem is tracking it. So you'll have to find it. If you can't see it with your naked eye, the binoculars are going to be hard, but you should be able to see it with your bare eyes. Yeah, you should be. It's hard to say, but I think you should be. Or it goes over Africa and India, which could be too. Not India. Africa and India. Might have to double check that. But if it passes over Europe, you should be able to see it. Yeah. Let me read here real quick. Kalina is asking, how do you think we will achieve space construction from raw materials to end structure? Yeah, that would be the only way. If you really want to construct something big in space and not constantly get stuff up, the first thing you should construct is a construction facility so you can make stuff in space. The next step, which Japan is really hard working on right now with the Hayabusa missions, is exploiting asteroids for raw materials and then produce in space, 3D printing, whatever. There are a lot of different options, but that's the way it should be done if we want to do anything significant up there, anything more significant than a double-size ISS. Because getting things out of the Earth gravity well is the problem. And if you just do that once to get the facility up to 3D print and to process the raw material, you just have to do it once. So that would be the preferable way, but we're a long shot from that yet. So we'll see. Yeah, first, even with the Starship, it's probably just going to be pre-manufactured modules brought up to space. But on the long shot, we should definitely work on something like that. Yeah. Alex Prosser is asking, what do we know about the thermal test? Second stage, if it wouldn't have been scrubbed, we would already probably see the second stage coasting. And the official plan is to separate the Crew Dragon, the Cargo Dragon, and then let the second stage coast for 6 hours. And it's a thermal test on the tanks and on the fuel. So what they've done a preliminary, how do you say that? A test before this test, CRS 17 I think it was, where they had a gray thermal insulation on the upper stage of the Falcon. And that was a test that ties into the test that should have been happening today on thermal insulation on the tanks. Because if you do a coasting phase, a longer coasting phase, like in this case 6 hours, the fuel is going to warm up. And that is a bad thing for a rocket because it's got to vent the fuel and then it loses fuel, and that is never a good thing. And so they are trying to test how as it is constructed right now, it behaves in a 6-hour coasting phase, and then they're lighting the engine to see how much fuel is left and how it performs. That's basically the idea of the test. And my personal opinion, but that's just a personal opinion, is that that could be tied into the moon missions they're planning with the Falcon rockets, because they already have the contract signed for payloads to the moon, and they're going to send those up with these upper stages, of course. And to the moon you have pretty long coasting phases. I don't exactly know how the flight plan would look like on a Falcon rocket to the moon, but I'm pretty sure there would be a pretty long coasting phase involved, at least orbiting Earth until you get to the translunar injection orbit. And so that could be a preliminary test to that. That is my idea behind it. So in a nutshell, that's what they're doing, hopefully tomorrow. And gaming with Reddit again, you've got questions. Do you ever use the telescope in your background? I do, not in the winter though, because it is really, really cold, and I'm one of those people that go outside and start shaking instantly when it's cold. My wife actually stands outside in a t-shirt, but I'm quite the opposite. So when it drops to 0 degrees Celsius or 30 Fahrenheit, whatever, I think it's 32 Fahrenheit, it's too cold for me. You're standing there in the middle of the night and you've got to take some time. It's at least an hour, preferably 2, 3, 4 hours, and I'm freezing to death. So I don't do that in winter, but I'm using that in the summer. Yes, I'm an Explore Scientific ambassador. I hope I said that right. Explore Scientific is the company that produces these telescopes. Bresser is a daughter company that is settled in Germany, but they're tied together. And I'm an ambassador for that telescope producer. So yeah, I've always been into astronomy, and I've used it quite a bit, and I love astronomy. It's a really, really nice thing. Yes. So yeah. And I get it out the door, drag it down, because I'm on the first floor here. I drag it down the stairs and put it outside, and then I start watching stars. Yeah, that's what I do. Yusef Barade, I hope I said that right. When do you think that SpaceX will launch the first Starship into low Earth orbit? Musk said that the Mark III generation will be able to go to orbit. Half a year? If nothing pops off the top again. It's really hard to say on a prototype phase. That's the problem. Anything can happen. They're still obviously figuring out how to build it. So it is really hard to say when it is actually going to go to orbit. Even though Mark III generation supposedly is able to orbit, they're not going to start with that. I'm pretty sure they're going to do their 20-kilometer test flight in the beginning to just check if everything works. And if that works, but we already thought it might work on Mark I, which obviously wasn't the case. So it is really hard to say when, but if SpaceX's internal plan works, half a year. If it doesn't work, anything from here to never. So it's really hard to say, but I'm going to keep you updated on the episodes, that's for sure. I'm following the project closely. Hannah Boo, thank you for your amazing work to give us the latest updates. You're very, very welcome. I feel very fortunate to do this. It is crazy what became of the channel in the last half year. My initial thought was putting out a video. Go watch my first episode and you'll see my initial thought. That was just sit in front of the camera and see if somebody wants to watch you talk about space. And somebody wanted to watch me. And so I'm super grateful that I can do this, basically. Every time I say that at the end of the episode, that's actually what I mean. It's crazy for me to be able to do this. Thank you. Thank you for watching. That is the reason why I'm doing this, because everybody's watching. And as long as you keep watching, I'm going to keep producing episodes. Thank you. Luftentfeuchter, very, very nice nickname there. Do you agree with Zubrin? Starship is too big to land on lunar regolith. It would make a huge crater. Yeah, I heard of that. A solid landing pad would need to be built in advance, and it would be very difficult to get back. Zubrin is a person who has a lot of radical opinions, though he's an expert. So there's a mixed feeling for me on Zubrin. I would love to do an interview with the guy because he's super interesting. But even NASA is researching together with SpaceX on how to propulsively land a Starship on the moon. So if it there must obviously there must be difficulties, otherwise they wouldn't have to separately research it because they have already had landers on the moon, so they don't have to research that. But Starship has a lot of more oomph on its engines. So, and Zubrin even said that the regolith would be thrown into orbit. I think I've seen this talk. He said it a few times actually, and but I can't. It's one of those things where there's an expert telling you that this would happen, and I'm sitting there thinking, but why then are they planning it? It's the same thing as people standing there watching the Starship prototypes being built saying that will never happen. If there was no possibility of it, SpaceX wouldn't pursue the thing. And that's the same thing for landing on the moon. So I think it is possible, and I think Zubrin either has the wrong idea of it or he's an expert and SpaceX is pretty much busted. So my opinion about it is that it's going to work. I can't imagine it to produce such a big plume of regolith that it would actually be a problem. But I agree that a pad should be built ASAP, as soon as they can. Bring some 3D printing robots, let them make a pad out of Luna. They can make cement out of the... I was at the ESA Open Days and they had a really, really interesting project with a 3D printer. Watch the episode, it's in there. And that is what they should do on the moon ASAP. As soon as they've got any sort of equipment down there, start building. That's the important thing. And then a landing pad, of course, would be one of the first things to build because it just makes everything easier. Even if it works and there's no danger, it still makes the landing much easier. So that's my general thought on that. I just can't imagine that they would try to do it if it was totally impossible. So we'll see, of course. Okay. It's really hard to keep up with you again, or I'm putting out too long answers. There we go. Okay. Alexander Werm. I hope that was right and it is a German name. Otherwise, it would be Alexander Worm. I remember when you were under 5K subscribers and thought there was great potential in the channel. Look where you're now. Yeah. It is crazy. Like I said, it's baffling to me. Thank you for showing up and thank you for being here and thank you. Jeff Hu. Jeff Hu. When do you think SpaceX will end up with actual Starship Super Heavy factories in Boca Chica and KSC? Will they still continue using vertical integration or would they switch? Okay, I've had plenty episodes about Roberts Road, and in the construction plans of Roberts Road there are so-called construction pads, and that leads me to the thought that they won't switch to a vertical building strategy. They'll keep it horizontally. The other way around, of course. They won't do it horizontally. They'll keep it vertical. I don't know why they're doing that, but there must be a good reason. Maybe it's just too big and the steel would bend if it's laying down. Something like that could be the case. I don't know what, but I think they're going to stay with the vertical production, vertical assembly, and I think they're going to start that in buildings as soon as Roberts Road is up, because as we've all seen, Coco is paused and everything moves to Boca Chica, and I think the reason for that is because they want to build out Roberts Road properly. At least I think that. Again, it's just speculation and we'll have to see, but that's my thought. And if they do, we're going to see that inside buildings as soon as they've got it up, because they can build the buildings, of course. They have the windbreaker, which is huge. So that would be easy to do. And I think as soon as they see it being a necessity or seeing it as being the right time to switch to that, they will. They won't keep building them outside. They wouldn't have to, so they won't. The question when they do that is really hard to answer, though. Like I said, Roberts Road, I think that's going to be the first place where you can see that. Mo Mo Guide, where you're originally from? I'm from Germany, but I've got French family and family in the States. So I'm a bit of a crazy mix. I live in Germany, and I've had contact to the English language when I was really, really young. That's why I still have an accent, but it's pretty good English for a German, trust me. um, and so yeah, I've got family all over the world. I've got an aunt that lives most of the year in Italy, and yeah, I see myself as a human, not as a German. That would be the best answer. So many questions. My God. Gaming with Reddit, dude, you're exploiting me. Are you the Flat Galaxy Society? No, I'm. Oh yeah, I am. Up there. It's a joke because we've got so many people in the comments saying that it's CGI what SpaceX is doing there, and that there was never. I mean, you know the guys. And so my wife actually, I think my wife came up with the idea of the Flat Galaxy Society. So we made that poster, but we never officially announced that we're the Flat Galaxy Society. But you can order it if you want to. It's on the shop, and I think it's funny. Um, that's another name. It's really hard to say. Vidura Wirazinji. I hope that was understandable. I have seen Jim of NASA backing the albedo of Starlink satellites, but I don't see SpaceX has taken significant measure. Yeah, it's really tough for astronomers, even though most people that don't do astronomy say that it's totally not a problem, but it is. Because especially if you want to do astrophotography, you have to expose you have exposure times of at least 5 minutes, sometimes even a whole night to get an object in. And if there's Starlink satellites everywhere, you're just going to have stripes all over the picture in the end, and you can't even use the result. I don't know how that is with bigger telescopes, because they have a much narrower field of view. Normally, they're focused on a very, very tiny spot in the sky, and it could be that there's just no Starlink satellites going over that spot, or that you can calculate when there are no Starlink satellites going over it. So I think scientific astronomy won't be affected that much, but visual astronomy and especially hobby astronomy with astrophotographers, it's going to be a pain in the ass for them. Sorry for the language, but that's definitely going to be bad for them. Yeah, it is already. We've seen the pictures. I've seen the pictures already of terrible Starlink destroyed pictures, and if there's 40,000 Starlink satellites up there, that is going to be a problem for them. Yeah, but on the other hand, I'm not one of the people that says that technology should be halted for that kind of stuff. It is bad, and I'm going to hate it myself, but Starlink is going to, first of all, it's going to be super beneficial for us down here, because having broadband, low latency internet available all over the planet is going to give so many possibilities, especially for people who don't have that right now. And there are a lot of people who don't have that right now. So that would be a big improvement. And it's going to fund Starship. And I want to see Starship being built. So I'm all for Starlink, even though I'm going to be... I don't do that much astrophotography, so... But still, yeah, you're right, it's going to be a problem. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a problem. Ninja Dojo is saying, me and my friends from India watch your videos for all updates. Thanks, and keep making good videos. Thank you very much for watching from India. That is great of you. I'm a big fan of ISRO, and I really have to cover them more again. I had an episode up about Chandrayaan, but recently SpaceX has kept me so busy. But I have to cover ISRO again, that's for sure. Thank you for watching. Radu, thank you very much. Joanne Cantuba, I love your show. Thank you very, very much, everybody. Thank you. That is, I'm blushing. Thank you. Lots of compliments here. Thank you very much. Kai E is saying, greetings from Germany. I found your channel weeks ago as suggested through YouTube. Yeah, that's the big problem on YouTube. the algorithm needs to suggest my channel, no matter how exciting my episodes might be. You can call yourself lucky that it suggested it, because it's still really, really tiny. And yeah, the algorithm needs to show my stuff as much as it can. Share it. That helps, because the algorithm detects outside links and then thinks, ooh, that is really popular. So if you've got the time, share it on Twitter or post it on Facebook or whatever. The algorithm is going to detect it, and others are going to have the same chance as you with an algorithm actually suggesting it to them. That is the biggest problem for a small channel. So that's what you can do. Yep. Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna stop the stream now. We still have a crazy amount of people watching. Come back tomorrow. I'll put up the notification tonight. Thank you all for joining. If you want to become a patron, ask my moderators. They can maybe you can put a link up there. If you want to, if you liked this stream, like it and subscribe. I'm really close to the 30,000, and that would be a big thing for me. I mean, every 10,000 is a big thing apparently, but it's just my third. So that would be a really big thing for me and would make my day. And if you become a patron, you can join the Discord. I'm on it like literally every day, talking in the voice chats and also on the text chats. And we've got some very nice people in there, so it's worth it. It's the first tier is $1 per month, so it's not that much. And yeah, thank you for joining. Look out for the notification. I'll put that out like right after the stream. I'll just use the same thumbnail again and put it up so you know when it is. And yeah, see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining. Bye-bye.
Everywhere you go, light follows. Everywhere you go, light follows. go.